Hello, good morning, everyone. I think I'm audible. Yeah, warm greetings and a very welcome to all of you. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the ASPE Asia Pacific Dialogue for Equitable, Inclusive, and Gender Responsive Financing of Education, organized in celebration of the Global Action Week for Education, GA 2026, which we are celebrating under the theme hold the flame high for education. Presence of distinguished guests, education advocates, youth representatives, and members from across the Asia Pacific region. Together, our commitment is for advancing equitable, inclusive, and gender-responsive education system through sustainable and accountable financing. Once again, thank you for joining us in this regional workshop. I wish for a productive and participatory discussions and dialogue today. I'm Lakshmi Nepal, youth focal of the National Campaign for Education Nepal, NCE Nepal, which is a network of more than 508 organizations working for the strengthening of the public education system in Nepal. It is also the member of ASPBAE, and I too represent in the youth co-team member of ASPBAE. So, to formally begin our program, I'm pleased to call on Peter Clinton Isaac Fosse, who is the ASPE's president and leader at Adult and Community Education, ACE, Aotearoa. Peter, here the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lakshmi. Greetings of peace, love, and solidarity to you all, to our friends from across our beautiful world. Greetings to the villages you represent, to the movements you guide, the constellation of diverse peoples you connect. It is my humble honor to welcome you to this virtual forum, the Asia Pacific Dialogue for Equitable, Inclusive, and Gender Responsive Financing of Education. It is part of the Global Awareness Week for Education 2026, a worldwide annual event organized by the Global Campaign for Education, in which ASPBAE is a founding member, to advance the right to education. This year marks the 24th anniversary of GAWE, which started in 2003. The theme for GAWE 2026 is education financing, with a call to governments and the international community to hold the flame high for education and rally support for the full financing of SDG 4. The theme, Hold the Flame High, reminds us of our intergenerational responsibility to keep the fire of education burning, to fuel it, to feed it strongly so all generations can sit around that fire and benefit from its warmth. Fire warms, fire heats, sheds light, and sustains life. All our villages across our seas and lands has survived millennia because we have learned to harness the flame, to respect it and to feed it, to use it for good. This is what lifelong learning and education is as well. Societies and communities across our globe have thrived because we have learned to harness education, to learn from it, and to share it with each other. However, neglect of the flame means death. Irresponsible use means destruction. The overall progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals and SDG 4 on education in particular has been slow and constantly at risk of reversal. Where progress in education has been made, it has been uneven and inadequate. In the Asia Pacific region, progress has stalled and even regressed in several countries and contexts. With 5 years left until the 2030 deadline for the SDGs, there is an urgent need for a critical review to analyze the gaps and overcome systemic barriers to accelerate progress and meet the targets by 2030. My friends, we are faced with many challenges, but just as our ancestors and the giants before us overcame their struggles, so will we. No matter how low a fire burns, all it takes is a single ember to potentially light many furnaces. Regardless of how dark a room can be, a single flame brings light to all surroundings. We are blessed that on this very core and in our communities, we have many more than just a single flame. We are many. We are joined tonight Today and tonight, where I am here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, by many inspiring flames who will shed light, warm us, and feed us. Thank you to all our speakers for your time and for keeping the flame burning. Thank you to you all in your communities and in your villages and in your movements for not just keeping the light burning for education, but sharing it so that we can all learn from each other. I pray that we will enjoy this productive meeting, and I'll hand it back to you, Lakshmi. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter. As always, you are inspiring, and thank you so much for your warm and wise words of dialogue today. Moving forward, it is now my pleasure to introduce and warmly welcome Attorney Maria Helandabu, who is the Secretary General of ASPBAE, a dedicated leader and representative civil society in strategic global spaces such as the Collective Consultation of NGOs on Education 2030, 𝐶CNGO 2030, and the SDG4 High Level Steering Committee, HLSC. She is an Asia Pacific regional representative to the board of the Global Campaign for Education, GCE, and a steering group representative of the Interagency Network in Education in Emergencies, INEE. She has also represented the Southern Civil Society constituency in many other international and regional forums and spaces, including as a former board member of the Global Partnership for Education, GPA. Ms. Ellen will be speaking on the context and imperatives for the Global Action Week for Education, GO 2026, Hold the Flame High for Education. Ms. Ellen, good morning, and you have the floor now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laxmi, and good afternoon, my dear colleagues, all the way from Manila, Philippines. And let me first acknowledge the inspiring message of our President, Peter, who holds the flame high for ASPBAE and for our education movement here in the Asia-Pacific region. Secondly, I'm also extending our sincere thanks to our Executive Council representatives in ASPBAE, our ASPBAE staff team, our ASPBAE members and partners who are joining us in this important conversation, as well as to our resource speakers from the government of Sri Lanka, Madam Jayani Pirishangika, our speaker from the Vietnam Academy of Policy and Development, Dr. Liu Huyen Trang, our speaker from the Global Partnership for Education, or GPE, Mr. Edwin Ikuria, and to our longtime friend in ASPBAE, David Archer from ActionAid International. Sincere thanks as well to our panel of civil society and youth representatives, Zera, Arshad, Rashida Chowdhury, and Hannah Benz, who will offer later on their reflections on this theme of our discussion, holding the flame high for education financing. So, to start, as members and partners of the Global Campaign for Education, it is important for us to have a collective appreciation of why this year's Global Action Week for Education, or GAWE 2026, has put back education financing front and center of our global civil society movement campaign. In short, colleagues, why the need to hold the flame high for education financing? I'll answer this question within three main imperatives. First, we need to hold the flame high for education financing because the systemic failures in reaching the aspirations of the SDGs and SDG4 agenda, as pointed out by our dear President, in the last decade also reflect the state of inequality today. The findings from the World Inequality Report this year was very clear. The world is extremely unequal. The report highlighted that inequality today is not confined to income or wealth. It's not only confined to income or wealth. It affects every domain of economic and social life. There are now new dimensions of inequality that define the 21st century, and these are climate and wealth inequality, gender disparities, unequal access to human capital, the asymmetries of the global financial system, and the territorial divides that are redrawing democratic politics. The report showed that contributions to climate change are far from evenly distributed. The global wealthiest 10% of individuals account for 77% of global emissions associated with private capital ownership, underscoring how the climate crisis is inseparable from the concentration of wealth. Addressing it requires a targeted realignment of the financial and investment structures that fuel both emissions and inequality. Next, gender inequality also looks starkly different if invisible unpaid labor, which is disproportionately undertaken by women, is taken into account. When unpaid domestic and care labor is included, the gap widens sharply. On average, women earn only 32% of what men earn per working hour, accounting for both paid and unpaid activities. These findings of the report reveal not only persistent discrimination or gender related discrimination, but also deep inefficiencies in how societies value and allocate labor. At the international level, the report documents how global financial system reinforces inequality. Wealthy economies continue to benefit from an exorbitant privilege. Each year, around 1% of global GDP, which is approximately 3 times as much as development aid, flows from poorer to richer nations through net foreign income transfers associated with persistent excess yields and lower interest payments on rich country liabilities. Reversing this dynamic is central to any credible strategy for global equity. Finally, the report highlights the rise of territorial divides within countries. In many advanced democracies, gaps in political affiliations between large metropolitan centers and smaller towns have reached levels unseen in a century. Unequal access to public services, job opportunities, and exposure to trade shocks has fractured social cohesion and weakened the coalitions necessary for redistributive reform. The second imperative, colleagues, is we need to hold the flame high for education financing because the Asia Pacific region is still far from delivering the common commitment of the Education 2030 agenda, and that is to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. The Asia Pacific Education 2030 SDG4 midterm review report published by UNESCO assessed that despite education-related achievements in our region, this will fall short of the ambitious targets set under SDG4. Again, this was reiterated by our president. Challenges persist, especially in the transition towards upper secondary education. And while lower secondary education completion has improved at the regional level, adolescents from low and lower middle income countries are prone to missing completion. Technical vocational education and training path continues to be undervalued as well. At the same time, both gender and poverty factors have been attributed as key impediments to complete any given level of education. With this state of SDG4 in the Asia-Pacific region, domestic resource mobilization for education through progressive tax justice reforms is needed now more than ever. And finally, colleagues, the third and certainly and final imperative, we need to hold the flame high for education financing because we all should challenge the worrying trend in the current geopolitical landscape where previously agreed international commitments and benchmarks to finance the education and development agenda are being eroded and undermined in favor of defense or military spending across many developed or donor countries. There's a whole history, colleagues, of why donor countries committed to delivering and setting benchmarks on their overseas development aid or ODA as against their gross national product or GNP. This is a matter of justice and historical obligations of rich countries, and there are geopolitical reasons why they are wealthy as against the developing countries. While 97% of education financing comes from domestic resources funded by people's taxes in developing countries, the remaining 3% that comes from overseas development aid or external sources continue to be critical in many contexts and countries. These include countries under various conditions of fragility and emergencies where the international community needs to continue to support. There's also a critical need to earmark and prioritize external financing commitments for the unfinished agenda of SDG 4, such as for out-of-school children and youth, women and girls education, disability-inclusive education, and flexible learning systems for marginalized adult learners, especially in fragile, rural, and low-income contexts, among others. Let me close by highlighting that strengthening public education systems that benefit all learners, especially from marginalized contexts and communities, are critical in this rapidly evolving context for education. Colleagues, for more than 2 decades, the Global Partnership for Education, or GPE, has been supporting and working with developing countries, including from the Asia-Pacific region, in strengthening their education systems in support of internationally agreed agenda for education, from the era of the MDGs to the SDGs. ASPBAE and the Global Campaign for Education have been strong partners of GPE, where civil society from the North and the South, as well as teachers, are represented in the board and its committees. Currently, our Southern civil society representation in the GPE board consists of our National Education Coalition member from Bangladesh, 𝐀𝐬𝐢𝐯, represented by Rashida Chowdhury, as well as by the GCE Regional Coalition member from Africa and CEFA, represented by Solange Akpo. Let me also add that in the previous terms of the GPE board, another National Education Coalition representative from our region, from Pakistan, PCE, through its national coordinator, Zera Arshad, also served in the GPE board. This year is an important moment for GPE as it mounts its 5th replenishment campaign amidst an extremely challenging landscape for development financing. That's why we, as the Global Movement for Education, wanted to use this opportunity and wanted to optimize this theme in the GAWE 2026 to also spotlight this important milestone and moment for GPE for its 5th replenishment campaign. On behalf of ASPBAE, with its more than 250 members across 31 countries in the Asia-Pacific region, including its membership from national education coalitions, non-government organizations, grassroots organizations, we call on donor governments and the international community to support the successful replenishment of GPE within its Multiply Possibility campaign. Education can indeed, and we believe education can indeed multiply possibility for a peaceful, inclusive, gender just, and climate-ready future for all. Thank you very much, and over to you, Laxmi.
Thank you very much, Ms. Selan, for your insightful reflections and valuable contribution. All of us, we truly appreciate your leadership and continued commitment in this journey. Thank you very much. Now we'll move forward listening to our speakers. So it is now my pleasure to invite the first speaker, Rene, and warmly introduce him to share his insights with us. Rene Rai is the ASPBAE Regional Advocacy Coordinator and Lead Policy Analyst who will provide the regional context and overview of education financing. Rene, you have 15 minutes and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Laxmi, and good day to everyone. Thank you, Helen and Peter, for those powerful context setting. And now I will be speaking related to the financing of education in our region, Asia-Pacific context, right? So in the next slide, we note especially that Asia-Pacific has been the fastest growing economic region globally in the last several decades. I think since the 1980s, it is also a leading force a global force in technology, innovation, and digitalization. So we monitored the growth forecast for 2025, and we can see that all sub-regions in Asia Pacific are growing faster, much faster than the world average. And that maintains, the lead as the fastest growing economy in the different global regions, right? And in the next slide, we note, however, that the region continues to face huge development and education challenges, notwithstanding its, very strong and fast economic growth. We have widespread poverty and rising inequality still persisting. The region hosts half of the world's poorest people. It has the biggest concentration of youth and adult illiterates, two-thirds of whom are women, large number of out-of-school children and youth, huge gender disparities in education, and it is the most digitally divided region across the world. Indeed, Asia Pacific is a region of extreme divides. And yeah, we face serious risk. And this has been mentioned earlier by our previous speakers, rising geopolitical tensions, high level of corruption. And if we remember, the attacks of the Gen Z related to their concerns related to corruption, climate change induced disasters becoming more frequent and more worse. It has worsened disasters several times over, and high levels of inequality. And there's increasing incidence of bullying, gender and identity-based violence, and online sexual abuse. And I think some of the countries in Asia Pacific are on top of the line on online sexual abuse and bullying. There's high level of debt and fiscal constraints, an impact of wars, and slow growth elsewhere. And all this can greatly impact on our social and economic development. So let me now walk you through about the progress of SDG 4 on education. SDG 4 remains severely off track in our region of Asia and the Pacific. There has been significant regression in SDG 4.5 on gender equality and inclusion. And you can see in this arrow, the red ones, that, it's about inclusion, equity, and about quality. And that's actually the promise, one of the main things that we work for in education. Yeah. So why is this happening? And a lot of this can be explained by the shortfall in financing SDG 4 on education. So as you can see, we're the least spender in education, even though, we're supposed to be the most dynamic economic region globally. So especially South Asia and Southeast Asia are the least spenders in education. But totally, all of Asia Pacific are among really the least spender in education. And yeah, as you can see in the next slide, many countries in Asia Pacific are some of the lowest education spenders globally. Well, some of them, like Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, may be having high level of expenditure related to GDP, but the size of the pie is too small. That's why it has to really ensure more resources for education because of the relative smallness of the budget pie. But most countries in our region are actually spending way below the global benchmark. Yeah. And in the next slide, low budget exacerbate inequity in education. And that's the situation globally and in Asia Pacific, it remains a very serious challenge and handicap. And in a number of countries, it has actually widened significantly. Next. Yeah, and low budget exacerbate gender disparity, as you can see, and as I mentioned, women comprise 2/3 of all youth and adult illiterates, and there are, significant number of out of school, and a larger percentage of them are girls and women. In the next slide, we can see that low budget also drives privatization and commercialization of education. And as you can see, South Asia, even Southeast Asia and Oceania are some of the most privatized education systems globally. And even countries of former socialist republics in Central Asia and East Asia have increasing drive for privatization and commercialization of education. And in the next slide, there's that imperative and urgency of raising enough revenues for equitable, inclusive, and gender transformative education. But what is happening actually is that we're not raising adequate resources for essential public services. As you can see in this, uh, there's a global race to the bottom on corporate income taxes, which could be a sustainable source of income for essential public services. But as you can see, Asia is leading the race to the bottom for tax generation from corporate income at 19.5%, which started actually at around 40% of income. So I think this is one of the missed opportunities for us in Asia Pacific to generate revenues, mobilize resources for essential public services, especially education. And as you can see in the next slide, the tax revenues as a share of GDP across the world and in our region of Asia Pacific has been going down. In the case of South Asia, it has gone down to 6.8% of GDP. And even in East Asia and the Pacific, it is at 8.2%, way below, the desirable benchmark that is needed for, financing essential public services. The recommendation is 15 to 20%, and, we're way below those benchmark. Yeah, and here, as you can see, in developing Asia Pacific, over $827 billion are lost through illicit financial flows, as well as tax evasion and tax avoidance. And this amount can really cover whatever deficit we have in financing education and other public services. And this probably can cover all the debt payments that we need to raise to cover and pay for our debts. But this is not happening because these resources are being lost. And by country, as you can see, just a sampling of countries in our region, Mongolia is losing over $121 billion annually, and this amount corresponds to 9.32% of education spending. Cambodia loses revenues and at around 40.69% of their education budget. And other countries such as Sri Lanka is losing, at the rate of 20.48% of their education spending. And even my country, the Philippines, 24.05% of education spending lost to tax abuse every year. And so that is the situation. We're not raising, we're forfeiting our chances for generating enough revenues, mobilizing resources for education, health, and other public services. So what can be done? So we need a fundamental shift in financing to prioritize the most vulnerable and excluded, which are, these are the key promises of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We need to do away with a regressive tax system. We have to stop burdening the poor with indirect taxes. Let us tax, wealth. Let us end tax holidays and stop illicit funding flows. We need to build a strong education movement, to lobby and campaign for meaningful tax reforms. We need global solidarity to reform the international financial architecture. So let me just end by saying, let's hold the flame high for education. Education actually is the best investment governments and donors can make for peace, social cohesion, and economic progress. And education is a critical enabler for equity, for gender justice, and for all other SDGs. Thank you very much, and good day.
Thank you very much, Rene, for a valuable sharing on the regional context on education financing and highlighting the issues of tax abuse and avoidance also. On one side, as you said, we are talking about the allocation is for the benchmark to 15 to 20%, and other side, we are also not utilizing the allocated budget efficiently and effectively. Thank you so much for your presentation and sharing. Now, I also request all the participants to please share your questions, reflections, and comments through the chat box, and we'll take those questions and comments during our discussion session. And now, moving forward to the second speaker, now it is now my pleasure to invite 𝐾𝐬𝐢𝐯𝐞 to share her reflections and insights with us. She has had over 20 years of experience as a school principal and is the director of education of the Ministry of Education, Higher Education, and Vocational Education in Sri Lanka. She will begin speaking on sustainable financing for education through domestic resource mobilization. And Ms. Jaini, now you have the floor is yours, and you have 15 minutes of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Greetings from Sri Lanka to for everyone presenting here, facilitators, colleagues, and ASPBAE team. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to share this work. Today I'm going to speak about something that is both urgent and important for not only for Sri Lanka but for every nation that is working to secure children's futures through quality of education. The question I want to explore together is this: how can Sri Lanka build a sustainable financing system for education, one that relies primarily on its own domestic resources rather than on foreign aid or borrowed money? So my work will be on sustainable financing for education through domestic resource mobilization from the Sri Lankan context. In the time we have together, I hope to take you through the evidence and analysis and the practical solutions. By the end of this session, I want to leave with a clear understanding of the problem and a clear sense of what must be done about it. So this is my presentation roadmap. So I'm not going to explain one by one as I'm given a very limited time. So shall we move to the next slide, please? So then from education pioneer to laggard, so then I have divided the strategy into two. First one is I want to discuss about the political education champion. To understand this, we must first understand And the starting point of this story is genuinely remarkable. In the 1940s, Sri Lanka made a historic and courageous decision. It became the first country in the whole of Asia to establish free primary and secondary education for every child. The results were extraordinary. School enrollment nearly doubled, rising from just 41% of school-age children in 1946 to 86% by 1971. When governments spend 3 to 5% GDP on education, as Sri Lanka did in the 1950s and 1960s, societies more productive.
Sorry, but
and
Miss Jaini, sorry, we are getting distraction in your sound. Can you please speak quite louder? Thank you. I think you are mute.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
You
Yes.
are audible now.
Okay, thank you. So then I have been discussing with you how Sri Lanka had a very good history in education sector. Actually, when government spent 5% of GDP on education, as Sri Lanka did in the 1950s and 1960s, societies flourished, people became healthier and more productive and more innovative. And then in the second part, I am going to discuss with how we were declining, and then and it's important to understand that this decline did not happen overnight. It was a slow, steady erosion that unfolded across more than 4 decades, driven by a series of policy choices that each individually seemed manageable, but collectively proved devastating. By 1979, education share of GDP has already dropped to approximately 2.7%, down from a high of 3 to 4% in the preceding decades. By 2010s, education spending had fallen below 2% of GDP. Then came 2019, and one of the most consequential fiscal decisions in modern Sri Lanka history, sweeping tax cuts were introduced dramatically and immediately reducing government revenues. These were not modest adjustments. They fundamentally compromised the government's capacity to fund its public obligations, like including education. And then 2022 arrived, Sri Lanka experienced its worst economic crisis in 70 years. Education spending collapsed to just 1.5% of GDP, placing this country among the 3 lowest spending nations in the entire world. By 2023, the partial recovery had begun. Spending rose to 1.83% under the IMF-supported fiscal program, GDP grew 5% in 2024 and 2025. Now, in 2026, we have like 2.04 GDP percentage. Next slide, please. So this chart on this slide translates the historical narrative we have discussed with the previous slide into the quantitative evidence. So I'm not going to explain one by one. So then we can see the comparative statistics. The South Asian average is 3.3 and the world average is 4.4%. And then while Sri Lanka still in 2.04. So then next slide, please. So then let me to discuss this with you. What are the root causes underfund for education in Sri Lanka? So then to design effective solutions, actually, we need to know why this happened. The most fundamental cause is that the Sri Lankan government simply does not collect enough revenue to fund its public obligations. In 2022, the tax to GDP ratio fell Sri Lanka among the 10 lowest taxing governments in the entire world.
Sorry, Zaini, we are losing your sound now.
Grant generous tax incentives and exemptions to corporations and investment projects. It is going to be whether these exemptions deliver genuine public benefit. And first, number 3 is structurally regressive tax system. The third cause concerns the composition of Sri Lanka's tax system. Approximately 80% of all government tax revenue comes from indirect taxes. Criminal vetting, excise duties on goods and services. These are taxes that fall on consumption, not on income or assimilated goods. The critical problem with this structure is that it's regressive, meaning it poses a proportionally heavier burden on poorer households than the wealthier ones. These 3 causes are not independent actually, they are deeply interconnected, mutually reinforcing, and responsible for Sri Lanka's education financing crisis. This is one in isolation will not be sufficient. Comprehensive coordinated response is required. So let's have a look. The slide before you identify the headline categories of impact. And then 3 distinct ways in which the financing crisis is translated into new experience on the ground. This is like first one is sampling infrastructure, second one is a shadow tuition system, third one is a widening urban-rural divide and accelerating brain drain. Those are the.
Sorry, Miss Janice, can you hear me? Can you hear?
First one is sampling infrastructure. The most immediate and visible consequence of sustained underfunding is the physical deterioration of school facilities. Schools in many rural areas do not have enough infrastructure facilities. In very urban schools, this gap is partially marked by private fundraising. Contributions from all voice associations to cover the cost of basic infrastructure.
Miss Jenny, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but we are getting a lot of distractions in your audio. Please, can you turn off the video now? So that the sound may be clear.
Is it now clear?
Yeah, quite clear. Yeah, thank you and go on.
Okay. I think audible, right?
Are you speaking? Sorry, we cannot get your sound.
I sound right?
Miss Jenny, we are not hearing you. I think you have got on the internet problem.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, please continue. Mm. So should we continue and move on?
Shall we move to the next speaker? But she is still speaking.
Yes, I'm here because I think you are not hearing me.
Yeah, we are not listening you.
Now you are
Your
clear.
sound is not audible.
Now clear. Now
Can you
clear.
speak once?
Move to the next.
Yeah, there is an interesting while internet get recover. There's an interesting conversation going on the chat. While we wait for Miss Jenny to come back, we can please continue to share your question, comments, and thoughts with us in the chat box. We have received I'll going through the chat, and we have received one question to Rene from David. Like, how do countries lose in education spending? Need few tip how we can track such. It's David from PNG. Shall I request 1 minute, Rene, to respond on this?
Yeah, I think in most countries, we are able to engage with our Ministry of Education and also our respective parliaments to be able to, lobby for increased financing for education. And that can be done as well for PNG. We have to develop, links and champions within government, within parliament, so that we are able to access and engage them so that we are not losing, funding for education. I know it's a challenge, especially for low-income countries, but the way to go really is to push and to ensure that some of the funds for other economic services can be channeled to education. Yeah, we can talk more about this.
Yeah, thank you, Rene. Also, we have received one response from Elaine Butler. Agree, Rene, also very important to carry out a gender analysis of budgets, intersectional if possible, and lobby for government to have and publish a women's budget. Funding pathways for equity education and training can be enhanced through sense mechanism. They are worth fighting for.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
thank
agree
you
very
so much
much.
for
Yeah,
inputs.
thank you.
And yeah, and also we have received many more recommendations, suggestions in the chat box. Once I'll check whether Miss Jenny is audible now or not, and we can move forward to her presentation. Miss Jenny, are you fine now with your audio? I think still she's facing the same problem.
Yeah, I suggest we can move on to the next speaker, and then maybe later, if we have time, then we can get back to her. Lakshmi.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Now after her internet problem goes better, we'll sure listen to her. And now moving forward, I would like to call the third speaker and invite on Dr. Lu Nguyen Trang, who is Academy of Policy and Development, Ministry of Finance in Vietnam. She specialized in the analysis and advisory of financial and economic policies and evaluating policy impacts using both quantitative and qualitative methodologies, and has had extensive experience in examining state budget, tax system, public debt, and financial regulation. She will be speaking on academic education through domestic resource mobilization, DMR. Dr. Trang, you have 15 minutes time and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thanks, Leslie. Can everybody hear me? Yeah. So you can see our slide and hear me clearly?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, please move
Okay,
on.
thanks. Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I'm so honored to be invited here to get some information about the educational finance. Actually, the first of all, I would like to get my thanks to all of you. And I hope that within only 15 minutes, I can give you some brief picture about the educational finance in Vietnam. So today I will share with the topic, the sustainable and accountable financing for education through domestic resource mobilization in Vietnam here. Actually, our presentation today consists of 4 content. The first one I introduce about the domestic resources for education, and the next I give you some data and structure of the education expenditure, and lastly I give some evaluation and recommendation. Yeah, first of all, I think I give you a overview picture of education system in Vietnam here. We can see in the slide, we actually have 4 main parts, lower secondary school, upper secondary school, and post-secondary school, and we also higher education after university. Yeah, for this education system, actually today I will give you information about the domestic resources for education in Vietnam. Actually, we have 3 main resources here. The first one comes from state bucket, and the second enterprises, and the next one that is the households. For the state bucket, actually, the government will allocate the bucket for education at which is stipulated in the state bucket law. And for the enterprises and household, the domestic resources will be mobilized through the socialization of education. For the enterprises, they may supply private funding and investment in education, and also make some contribution and education financing instrument. For the household. We can see that the household can spend their bucket on education services, household contribution, and donation to education. Yeah, actually, for the state bucket expenditure, as per state budget law in Vietnam, the state budget expenditure on education and training shall account for at least 20% of total state budget expenditure, in which capital on investment spending shall represent not less than 5% of total government expenditure, and also the expenditure on higher education shall account for at least 3% of total expenditure of the government. Yeah, and based on the data of Ministry of Finance and the National Statistics Office, I also have calculated some government expenditure on education in Vietnam. Actually, we have two main categories. The first one, that the recurrent, which account for the most part, and the second one, we have the capital, which mostly for infrastructure in education. And from the figure, we can have some main review that the recurrent spending on education have risen steadily over time, and the total education expenditure have remained approximate is at about 17 to 18% of total state budget spending in recent year. Yeah. You know that with this figure, that is not enough 20% target of the government. Yeah. And I also compare the government expenditure on education to the GDP percent here. And we make compare with some regional country and also the world level. Yeah, so we can see that the share of education expenditure related to nominal GDP has decreased over the period of time, and yeah, it's all the way below the one's average level. Yeah. So for the enterprises resources, we have three main ways to so the enterprise can supply resources for education. The first one, they supply the private funding and investment. Yes, they can invest in the private education institution, and as the statistic of the National Statistics Office, the private education institution account for 10% of total education institution. Additionally, they also can make some financial contribution, and also in recent year we can see the trend of financial instrument. Yeah, and the next and the last one, we have the resources from household spending. The household have pay for tutor fees, learning materials, supplementary education costs, schooling uniform, and learning supply, education related contribution and fees. And that is the main that's some category of household they pay for education. So in order to have the deep clear picture, we can see in the data. Yeah. For the every 2 year National Statistics Office, they do the survey. So we collect the data from the survey, and we can see the data about the average expenditure on education per schooling per person for the period 2014 and 2024 here. And we can see that the GDP per capita increased steadily over years, and average expenditure on education also increased. However, it's rather low compared with the growth of GDP per capita here. And additionally, we also, from the data, we also find that the ratio, we can calculate that the ratio of average expenditure on education to GDP per capita is about 8%. And as you can remember, the government expenditure to GDP is only more than 3%. So the gap between the 8 and the 3 will be paid by the household and also enterprises. And we also can see the figure that the education expenditure per student in urban area is more than twice in the rural area here. Yeah. When we can see the picture by the level school here, the average expenditure on education and training, you can see there the increase from the lowest level to the highest one. I think this picture is similar to similar trend in to the developed country when that means higher education, higher average expenditure on education. Yeah, when we analyze the structure of expenditure on education, we can see that the school fee and extra class account for the most part of the expenditure on education in Vietnam. Additionally, we also have the other category, that the textbook, the uniform, the stationery, and some contribution to the school here. And about this structure, we can analyze more detail about the domestic resources for each structure in the education. And for a student, we can divide in the 5 categories. The first one, that is the main one, that is the tutor fee and infrastructure. And the second, that is the learning material, the educational related living expenses. And the fourth, the skill development cost. And lastly, that is the informal cost here. For the tuition fee and infrastructure, we can divide into two categories, that is a public school and private school. For the public school, all of this fee will be covered by the state budget. However, with the private school, it will be paid by the private sector here. And for the learning material, we have the textbook and learning equipment. Actually, before 2026, all of this cost will be covered by the household. However, from 2026, the Vietnamese government has decided to pay for the textbook. So this cost will be covered by the state budget. However, most the other learning equipment still covered by the private sector here. For education related living expenses include public school meal, transportation, and accommodation. For public school meal from 2025, the state budget have covered a main part is about 20,000 Vietnam dong per meal for each student in school. For transportation and accommodation, is still covered by household here. For skill and development cost and informal cost, it will be paid by the household group here. So from this picture, we can see that most of the expenditure on education still covered by the household. The state budget only cover for a small part of a total education expenditure. So from this, we have give some evaluation. The first one, the public budget allocation for education in Vietnam remain relatively low, falling short of the targeted level. And the government expenditure on education as a share of GDP is lower than the regional peers and the global average. And household is still the primary source of education financing, placing a significant financial burden on them. And we also can see the substantial disparity in education spending between rural and urban areas, highlight persistent gaps in educational access and quality across locality. And from this, we base on the analysis from the evaluation and the the current state of Vietnam. We also give some recommendation. And the first one, we recommend to expand the stabilized fiscal space for education. In you know that in recent years, the state budget revenue have increased stably. So I hope that this will be the shock for the education expenditure in the future. So most of the education expenditure in the future may be covered by the state budget rather than the household. And the next one, the Vietnamese government should strengthen public finance management to improve efficiency. Actually, in Vietnam, we have decentralization for the state budget. So the government have to manage both the central budget and also the local budget for education. And the next one, increase the public provision of essential education services to reduce the financial burden on household. Yeah, when we cover by when the expenditure covered by the state budget, so the household pay less. Yeah, the next one, we have to refine the budget allocation formula to better reflect disparities in local fiscal capacity and education need, ensure that decentralization is accompanied by adequate and equitable funds across provinces in Vietnam. And the next one, encourage responsible public-private partnership in information, in education infrastructure and service delivery with clear accountability mechanism. Actually, the private sector pay a large amount for education. So if the government have a suitable and appropriate scheme, they can mobilize the private resources for education. Yeah, and last one, we also, I think the government, the Vietnamese government should learn from the other country good practice in mobilizing domestic resources for education. For example, the Korea and some Korea, the China, and some the other country in the region. Yeah, so I think for 50 minutes, I only give an overview picture about the domestic resources for education in Vietnam. I hope that through this forum, we can share more experience from the other countries. So Vietnam and also the other country can get more ways, get more tools to mobilize the resources for education to get the SDG purpose. Yeah. So that's my presentation. I hope to receive all of your comment and review so we can share more information. Yeah. Thanks for all of you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Trang, for sharing your expertise with us and showing that how much of the education expenditure is still being poured by the household, and how this might be one of the barriers hindering access to education. Sure, your sharing and perspective are very insightful. Thank you so much once again. I'll now like to call again Miss Jenny and check if her audio has been fixed. We can give her 5 minutes for her presentation. Miss Jenny, are you listening me? And please, the floor is yours. I think still. So I think still she might got the problem. So I would like to thank all of our speakers for sharing their perspective and for giving us insightful perspective here. And I would like to now invite the participants to share their thoughts, comments, and questions on the chat box regarding the sharing of our 3 speakers. We're also getting lots of suggestions, recommendations, and questions in the chat box. And one I would like to read from the chat box of Samsul Rahman. His question is directed to Mr. Rene. And he has raised that considering the $97 billion annual shortfall in education financing, and the fact that 41 of countries are still below the international benchmarks according to UNESCO, what practical measure do we see more appropriate governments practical order adopting to ensure financing strategies are sustainable and genuinely gender responsive, especially for learners in rural areas, conflict affected contexts like Afghanistan and other marginalized countries?
I think we have to come up with very concrete proposals for addressing the financing gap in education, for increasing the budget for gender transformative education, and for really reaching out to the most marginalized in the rural areas. I think there is space, but we need research. We need really evidence in order to come up with very concrete proposals. And I think together with champions probably in government and even in other quarters outside of our organizations, we might be able to come up with very strong position on how we can really cover the financing gap in education. But we need both evidence. We need, a strong constituency that will campaign hard for our advocacy related to financing. It's not an easy thing. It takes time, but through our perseverance, we think we are able to gain, legislation as well as funding support for education. We have those experiences in a number of our countries. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you to our dear speakers and all the participants. Please continue to keep the chat lively so we can exchange our ideas and recommendations. This has been the first session, and now I would like to call on 𝐾𝐬𝐢𝐚, who will be moderating the rest of the session. He is the ASPBAE Capacity Support and Advocacy Advisor, and will be moderating the second half of the event. Now the floor is yours, and thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Lakshmi, and all the speakers of the first session. So now we are having a very important discussion about the Asia Global Action Week for Education 2026, and this is the Asia Pacific Dialogue for Equitable, Inclusive, and Gender Responsive Financing of Education. So thank you once again, the speakers. To enter into the second session, maybe still we are fresh. Can we have a group photo before starting the session? May we invite all the participants to turn on your camera and look at your hair. I saw Renee is already prepared. So maybe we can take 1 minute to prepare us and take a group photo first. Lay and Birds who will be taking the photo. So please signal us.
We can start the photo. We have 4 pages. So first page, keep on smiling, everyone. 1, 2, 3, smile. Let's go to the second page. Okay, let's wait for some people to open their cameras. There you go. 1, 2, 3, smile. Next page. 1, 2, 3. And last page. 1, 2, 3. There you go.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Birds. So to start the next session, can we have some thoughts of the participants? To collect the thoughts, would like to open a poll on using Mentimeter. So may I ask the lady to share the poll so that everyone can look into that. There are 2 questions. So to do that, in the chat, there is a link for the Mentimeter from your phone. Please connect it, or from laptop, just connect it. Those who face difficulty, go to Mentimeter and use the code. So you will get the question. So the first question is, how does your government budget for education? So there are three options. Yeah, we can see people are responding.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have around 90 participants. So far, we got response from less than 1/3. And only 40 people entered into the Mentimeters. So maybe we stay for one more minute and then
That's
we'll
okay.
come. So there was three options that the government follows the international benchmark. They are below the international benchmark and way below the international benchmark. So about half of the respondent is below the international benchmark. Only 7 out of 48 says they follow the international benchmark, and 10 out of 48 says way below the international benchmark. So it demonstrates that we have huge financing deficit, as we are emphasizing on state financing is very important for reaching the most marginalized. So we can see that most of our government, in our views, most of our government are either below the international benchmark or way below the international benchmark. So to follow up of this question, the second question, can I request to go to the second question? So what should be the prioritized to raise resource for education? So please respond. Tax reform, government funds, tax reform again. Yeah, responses are coming. Political will. yeah, some people cannot get access to the Mentimeter, so they can share their thoughts in the chat. So now we can see the trend, what are the major issues people highlighted. Please continue your response. Feel free to write on the chat as well, those who cannot access to the Mentimeter. Eliminate corruption. Yeah. So there are many issues come up. Among them, some critical issues include the political will, tax reform, addressing corruption, government funds. Those are some issues come frequently. So Mentimeter is highlighting those issues that people are telling again and again. So, fiscal policy and tax reform become a very important issue, according to the participants, which is definitely supported by political will and government procedures and addressing corruptions. So maybe we can stop here, and thank you for your response. So it gave us some kind of insight that how we'll prioritize. So we'd like to enter into the second segment. In this second segment, we'd like to listen from the international institutions and global platforms, and also would like to hear from country experience. So first of all, we'd like to invite one of our very good friend, Edwin Ikoria. Edwin Ikoria is a senior partnership specialist for the political advocacy of global advocacy team of Global Partnership for Education. Ikoria is he's a seasoned development and advocacy expert with over 2 decades of experience advancing education financing, public policy reform, strengthening mutual accountability across Africa and globe. So looking into the GP replenishment campaign, I believe we will have some good insight from you about overall GP process on education financing and replenishment campaign. Over to you, Edwin Ikoria.
Thank you very much for having me today, and it's really a pleasure to join this conversation. Can Lei please put up my slides? As you know, it feels like preaching to the choir, because this is a coalition of education advocates, and so many of the things that I'm going to say here, or I'm just going to skip them through, because they are people you all understand and already know the value that education brings in terms of why we need to do this. But I'm really focused more on the replenishment campaign that we're doing this year, and why it's important, our approach, and the different dimensions that we're covering. So it's really great to see the support we are getting already, especially from civil society actors and from partner countries where GPE has been active. And I'm sure, as you know, GPE is currently is already supporting low income and lower middle income countries in 19. We're already operating in 90 countries and supporting systems transformation, supporting real capacity to really transform the education system, so that the results we are getting, it's not just about what goes in, but it's also what comes out, including learning outcomes, including gender inclusion, including equity, and all of that. So I'll just go through them. Next slide, please. So in terms of our finance and the FIT financing, and I really, really want to, just thank colleagues for really supporting, and especially at the introduction, when we got that very beautiful remarks from colleagues, particularly describing what this has been. And of course, ASPBAE has been on our board in several capacities. But I wanted to say that concerning the financing campaign itself, there are three main pillars or four main pillars of this. First of all, is really we want to bring that, as you have said, as somebody said on the chart, about $97 billion gap, right? But beyond that, beyond the financing gap, it's really also about how do we transform the system. And in order to do that, financing is at the core. And that is why this conversation is really critical as we think about how do we mobilize resources, but particularly that puts gender and inclusion at the heart of it. So we are trying to mobilize financing for the GPE fund. And as you know, GPE is beyond the fund, it's also a partnership. We also want to mobilize, catalyze more and better external co-financing. The point being that it's not just what gets into GPE as a fund, but what it's also able to mobilize this outside of the fund, including from private sector, from philanthropy, from all around, even from countries' own initiatives that are innovative, every innovative way of raising fund. The gap cannot be filled by one source. We know domestic finances are the key, and that's why that is also the fourth pillar. How do we secure more and better domestic financing? But also within that as well as a central pillar is how do we diversify the donor base? And I think it has been alluded to the rate at which donor countries are really retreating from commitments they've made and going back and reversing those commitments they make in terms of ODA funding. We need to start spreading out more donors, bringing more donors into the basket, especially with education at the center. Next slide, please. So these are the main objectives that we did. But in terms of the investment, in terms of the specific, what do we get? What do we get if we invest in GPE? This the charts you're seeing, I'm sure you're going to get this slide after this conversation. You would see that when we are trying to raise $5 billion, but the $5 billion, like I said earlier, it's not just about the 5 billion itself, it's also how we use part of that to catalyze an additional $10 billion from external co-finance sources, so that we are bringing a total of $15 billion over the next 5 years into the education sector. What is that going to give to us? The idea is to be able to reach at least 750 million kids with better education, with better learning outcomes. And how do we train? And of course, a key pillar of that is the teachers, right? So we are hoping that with this investment across our partner countries, we can train 10 million teachers and, of course, distribute 325 million textbooks. These are inputs that get in. But when you look at the chart, these inputs will translate into other major outcomes, basically getting more kids in school. Of course, you know that there are about 270 million out of school children, but this investment would also help us bring in at least 204 million kids back to school, and 104 million, 5 million learning better. As you know, that we have the learning poverty, we have learning outcomes of many kids who are up to 10 years old who cannot read or write a single word. And those indicators are the things they're really targeting. But also apart from that, we also try to use this fund to be able to save through better financing, through higher quality financing, through better efficiency in spending, save at least $7.7 billion over this period. And that itself has other impact that we're going to see beyond 2030, including the number of people that get out of poverty, including the number of GDP growth that we would see in partner countries. And all of these are the key, these are the challenge, these are the logic for investments in GPE. Next slide, please. So you can actually download the summary of this case for investment on our website. The link is there when you get that. I don't want to talk too much here because we know why education is important, right? But at least I just wanted to highlight the last statistics on the slide there, where if we don't do this, what do we lose? So there is the gain that we get from investing in education, but there is also what we lose if we do not invest in education, or if we currently treat education as an expense, as a social expense, and we cannot connect that to our strategic national development. That is the key opportunity here. There is a possibility of losing $3.3 trillion per year in lost productivity due to learning crisis. And that is a key statistic. And I think Renee was talking about this. We need to produce the evidence. The evidence is there. The evidence is clear. We need to be using that more to be able to do that. Next slide, please, to make our case. Now, why GPE? I've mentioned this at the beginning. So GPE is not just a fund, GPE is a partnership. And the idea here is that beyond what we give as funds to partner countries, you understand that we usually work through compacts. Compact basically means that the country designed through a multi-stakeholder group, they designed what the key issues are in education, including the very low level of domestic funding or government resource that is committed to education. And once those are highlighted in that compact, GPE funds then focuses on getting specific results in those areas that really leads to transformation. So the government or the country itself decides what it needs to actually transform its system, and the investment in GPE helps to make that system, helps to fulfill, or rather help to accelerate implementation in a way that brings those specific outcomes that can be transformational. So it's not just inputs, but it's also about transformation. And that is key. And like I mentioned earlier, it's not just about the $5 billion we're looking for. It's also about what we are able to commit to, what we are able to catalyze in external financing that brings $15 billion into the system. That is one of the biggest investment drive that we've been pursued in recent times for education. And that is why we think it is key for partners to continue to support education. Next slide, please. Support GPE precisely. So we've already mentioned, we've heard this before. The theme for this campaign is called Multiply Possibility. Like I said, I'm preaching to the choir, but it's important to understand that for every child that gains these skills, every child that gains an education, what you open up to that child can really not be quantified in just the specific learning outcomes. So Multiply Possibility basically expresses the exponential impact of getting an education. Many of us that are on this call today, if not for the education we got, we probably wouldn't even be sitting here. And that is why the reason we need to really think about it. What is the biggest lever that we can pull for strategic national development, for global development, if not education? Because yes, other things can happen, but with an education, you just explode the potential for that child, for that individual, for especially, given the context that have been set already, you can imagine the level of transformation that would happen when a core group, or what you call a critical mass of kids get the education they need, the skills they need to really transform their own opportunities and take them. So that's why we continue to call for this Multiply Possibility campaign, so that whenever you use this, imagine speaking about how education multiplies the possibilities for every single child across our partner countries. Next slide, please. So how do we do this? I mean, how do we invite you to join? Of course, you can basically advocate for GPE funding, full GPE funding in donor countries, in the embassies across the Asia Pacific, the embassies of these donor countries. I'm going to show you a slide where we have a list of these donor countries. Amplify that message and continue to ask, write to donor markets, write to their embassies, emphasize the reason why this catalytic fund is necessary to support or complement what the countries are already putting in. I understand, of course, we've seen those keywords that were done, that were put on the screen just now. Tax reforms are needed, of course, a government priority, but political will is key here. And so as countries are working domestically to raise this funding, I'm going to come to the domestic partnership, domestic finance section shortly. But it's important to know that external catalytic fund would always be critical in mobilizing more and also enhancing how far we can go with domestic funding. Next slide, please. So share intel with GPE, reach out to donors, and of course, advocate locally. And there are different ways we can do this. I'm not going to go into these details. You'll get the slides and you can see how this. But we currently have a youth-led advocacy that is taking place right now, open letters. Please, when you get this slide, please click on the link and use your voice, join and support this youth leaders call to action that is happening, because this is going farther than where we can go. You can do your op-eds in different places. You can write about it. I've seen the different suggestions on the chat already about the different things that we can be doing. But as a collective, we can actually use our influence. One simple action by each organization will definitely amplify whatever we're getting in terms of publicity, in terms of amplification and have been known of this multiply possibility being seen. Next slide, please. So how do we engage communications? There is a link here that also gives you access to the different tools that we've already created so that you're not starting from the scratch. As organizations, you can also see that it is, when you click on this link here, you'll be able to see the different tools that have been created already. You can use that, amplify that, post them on social media. And of course, that would also help to amplify the campaign as we go ahead. That's in terms of comms. Next slide, please. So here is a list of donor countries. And if you get this slide, when you click on each one, you will see how they have been supporting and how much more is needed. Please, especially for the countries that are very close, for donor countries that are close to the Asia Pacific, South Korea, Japan, and all of those in the Middle East there, when you check how they have supported so far, you can write to them, you can increase, you can link, you can send letters to their embassies in your countries. And these are ways that we can begin to support this campaign so that it's already clear what we can do right now, both locally and internationally. Next slide, please. So here we can also engage. So in terms of engaging the diplomatic missions in your country, there are different ways you can do this. These are just suggestions. And there are 2 emails down there. You can see my colleague Heather and myself. Our emails are there. If you're looking for specific templates of letters you can use or talking points you can use, we're happy to support you as quickly as possible to see how you can reach out. If you see what we have here, when you identify a key embassy, you can request courtesy visit, you can do policy dialogues, you can write letters, you can use even national data stories based on what the examples we've shared today, whether it's in Sri Lanka or in the Philippines. All of these are examples that you can use to motivate these donor countries and their embassies to say that education should be at the top of the development agenda that they support internationally. And that would really go a long way in creating that momentum that we're looking for. Next slide, please. So we've talked about the how, but I really wanted to emphasize this here because we've already gone into this detail, some detail here. But we wanted to say that as a key pillar of this Multiplied Possibility campaign, we are really, really emphasizing the issue of domestic financing. And the reason is very clear. The main transformation that can happen at any country level depends on the political commitment to education. And it's important to understand that while we are campaigning for this external financing, we are also mobilizing that our partner countries show their commitment, to domestic financing for education. Why? Because it's the most sustainable way to do this, to really transform education system. And of course, we have all of this international benchmark, but like Renee said in his presentation, sometimes the pie is too small. So even if some countries put 50% of their budget on education, the unit investment is still so small. And that is why, for instance, low-income countries, an average of $55 per annum per year per student, whereas in the advanced countries, it's about $8,500 to $9,000 per annum per student per year. That is the stark difference. So it is important for us to think about all the reforms that need to happen. So we're not just calling for volume, for the commitment in terms of volume, we're also calling for commitment in terms of policy actions that need to change, including public finance management, including how to improve efficiency, including how to improve equity, including how to use better the resources they've already mobilized, and then how to increase the pot through tax reforms. Those are some of the key issues. But that is not going to happen unless partner countries see that education is a strategic investment and not just one social expense that needs to be done because, we just have an obligation. It is actually a better way to even mobilize future tax returns. Next slide, please. So this is our approach. What we've tried to do is we launched a call to action. We launched some templates. We sent out to all partner countries to get them to make their own commitments in the next 5 years. Why? Because we need to demonstrate to the international community that domestic resource mobilization for education is really critical and is seen as a priority in partner countries. And this is way we are working with them. But apart from asking them to fill these templates that we created and shared with all of them, with all partner countries, for those who have been part of our strategic partners call, we've also shared these templates with them to see what we are asking for. And it's very gratifying to see, as we'll get in the other slide, to see that partner countries are really responding to this. And we're also building political will. We're building champions. We're mobilizing champions. President Madabi of Sierra Leone is one of our champions. The Vice President of Botswana is one of our champions, where they are speaking on the value for sustainably financing education, because that is the future that we have. There is no other way we can achieve the goals we want to achieve in terms of education unless we build this political will for that. Then, of course, in building visibility and mobilize support, and that's one of the reasons why we're even having this conversation today. CSO partners must really do their most to secure not just ambitious commitments nationally, but also publicize all the call to action and all the things that we're doing to make sure that the key message for education as a strategic national investment is central in all of this. Next slide, please. So these are the different pathways. I'm not going to go into these details. You will get this slide, and then you'll be able to see what needs to happen. We could shift narrative at the national level. We could influence budget, just like we've been talking about since morning. And then, of course, we could build political pressure and visibility by really holding governments to account, and how to even monitor these efficiency gains that we are hoping can also help move the dial on domestic financing. Next slide, please. So here we are. As of today, we've received domestic finance commitments from 45 countries, from actually 47, but we've not included 2 countries that you see, Nigeria as a federal state and Pakistan as a federal state. We've not included their numbers here because that would really increase the number. But so far from our member states, including Sri Lanka that just presented, you could see that we are hitting $214 billion in commitment for the next 5 years from partner countries. But the volume commitment is just one aspect, and that is not even the most significant one. Like we said, in terms of the volume of money that is available, funds that are available locally, even some countries, even if they put 20 or 30%, it's still not enough. So that's why there are other financing commitments that we're policy commitments that we are asking for, and we're getting the results. And we can share with you. There are blog series that are going to be happening after now, where we are sharing what countries have committed to do, not just in terms of tax reforms, for instance, but how to improve efficiency, how to increase budget execution rate. And I think one of the slides that was presented, it is one thing to allocate, but it's another thing to actually spend. And then, of course, tackling corruption and improving the data and accountability systems. Those policy commitments are also coming from partner countries, and we are trying to amplify them. One of the key results from this is that we're able to tell donors to say, the partner countries are not just waiting for you. They are taking leadership and doing this by themselves, and they are moving from just commitment volume-wise to actual accountability, to efficiency, and to equity issues, including putting gender at the center of budgeting. Next slide, please. I think that will be all. Thank you very much, and thank you for having me, and we're looking forward to the support that we can get from ASPBAE colleagues very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Edwin. It is really very clear and loud. When we are speaking, we recall that you are emphasizing on 90 countries, gender, 4 pillars of the GP process, then raising 5 billion directly and additional 10 billion, which will be 15 billion to support 750 kids. You emphasize on partnership and multiply possibility, youth-led issues, then communicating with the diplomatic mission to support the campaign. Also emphasize on domestic financing framework, then pathway for shifting, and also share that already there are some kind of commitment of 214.7 billion for next 5 years. And you also raise one very critical issue which civil society valued, that is allocation and use. So with all those, I believe there will be many questions to you. We'll come back at the later part. If there is any question or if there is any issue to respond, we'll request you to stay with us for some time, if possible. But if you need to go back, please give us signal, then we can allow you to respond some of the question in between. So with that notes, we'd like to move forward, and our next speaker is David Archer, 𝐷𝐞𝐬𝐢𝐯 is Head of Program and Influencing at ActionAid, a leading development and education advocate with extensive experience in social justice, program planning, policy influencing, and strengthening civil society engagement for equitable and inclusive education globally. So because of his travel schedule, it cross-cut with our session. So he was very kind enough to share his thought by recording. So may we now request Bars to share 𝐷𝐞𝐬𝐢𝐯's thought with the participants. Okay.
Hello, my name is David Archer. I'm the Head of Programs with ActionAid's Global Secretariat. I'm presently in Nairobi, where we've just had a wonderful week last week, looking at education financing and developing the Nairobi Charter for
It become frozen. Audio is missing. Sorry for the technical issue. Let's try to fix it.
that tend to happen in global spaces around education finance, where almost all the attention is placed on aid and loans and the role of international actors in supporting financing of education. There was a radical rethinking and saying that actually, recognizing that 97% of financing for education is domestic, and what really needs to happen is the transformation of domestic financing for education. But to achieve that actually also requires international action to change the global rules and the global policies and the global power structures around tax and debt and austerity. So putting things in a much bigger picture. Now, the financing of education is really a critical issue, and one of the things that Transforming Education Summit laid out was, the reality that in high-income countries, something like $8,000 or on average over $8,000 is spent per child on education, whereas in middle-income countries it's just around on average $2,500, and in low-income countries just under $200 is spent on the education of each child. When you have such a profound inequality of the financing available for education, there's no great surprise that the outcomes are so unjust, and we need to radically transform the financing of education around the world. As I say, domestic financing is absolutely critical, and yet whenever international actors meet other than at that Transforming Education Summit, the overwhelming focus is, what new international mechanisms can we develop? There's a lot of attention paid to things like the Global Partnership for Education, or Education Cannot Wait, or these other very dodgy structures like the International Financing Facility for Education, or the roles of the World Bank and what bilaterals. All of that, it adds up to, in the end, just 3% of the financing for education, and yet absorbs a hugely disproportionate share of the time around policy discussions, and we've got to change that. So the Transforming Education Summit started to do that, but the agenda, which was quite a radical agenda, is progressively being undermined by the conventional actors in the international space, and it's critical for civil society organizations and movements to reassert the importance of that agenda. So I want to sort of talk through some of the critical issues that were laid out. I mean, one of the starting points is the obvious one, about the importance of paying attention to the share of the budget spent on education, and the international benchmark, which is being reasserted in multiple spaces, including at Incheon in 2015, the countries should spend 20% of their national budget on education, or 6% of GDP, and that countries in the lowest income groups may well end up having to meet that benchmark or exceed it in order to make a difference. Now, one of the really worrying tendencies that I have seen in recent times is increasingly governments are reporting the share of the national budget spent on education after they have serviced their debts, rather than before. Now, the idea of the international benchmark is that countries should report what percentage of the budget should be 20% of the total revenue of the country, the total national budget, all tax revenues. But actually what's happening is increasingly people are reporting on the money that is left over after servicing their debts. And that's part of a sort of IMF mentality, which is embedded in ministries of finance now, that somehow paying your debt is like has to happen and therefore comes before anything else. So you might have millions of children out of school, you might have people dying for lack of healthcare, but nothing is more important, according to the IMF, than paying your debts. And so you have to report on that. You have to take that out of your budget. Now, there are some countries that are spending 50% of their national revenue on paying debt. So if they are now spending 20% of the balance, leftover money on education, in reality, they're only spending 10% of the budget on education. So there's a real danger of getting illusory data around the share of national government spending on education, something to really look out for. Now, one of the big issues which we've often talked about in the area of financing of education is it's not enough to have a fair share of the budget spent on education if, in practice, it's a 20% share of a small budget. And one of the biggest determinants of the size of the budget is how much countries are collecting in tax revenue. Big indicator on that is the tax to GDP ratio. In low-income countries, the average tax to GDP ratio is about 16%. In middle-income countries, 25, 30%, and in higher-income countries, it's often 40% or more. If you are collecting only 16% of your GDP in taxes, you have such a small budget that even if you spend 20% or 25% of it on education, that's never going to be enough to guarantee quality education. So if we, as education actors, are serious about transforming financing, we have to pay attention to tax, and we have to be supporting ambitious action to expand tax revenues in a fair and progressive way. One of the few occasions when I find myself in agreement with the International Monetary Fund is when their staff did an analysis of what it would take to finance the Sustainable Development Goals. And they said, well, the biggest thing that could happen would be if countries were to expand their tax to GDP ratios by 5 percentage points. So low-income countries on average moving from 16% to 21%, that would enable countries to double their spending on education, double their spending on health, and make rapid progress towards other sustainable development goals. That was a very clear analysis. And one of the things which has been really disturbing in recent times is that we've just studied IMF policy advice in practice at country level across 11 very diverse countries for a report that ActionAid will publish next month with Education International. And the findings of that show that despite this being the IMF's own analysis, they never recommend that in practice at country level. Their policy dialogue with ministries of finance remains profoundly lacking in ambition for expanding tax to GDP ratios, and more problematically, the bulk of their advice around what revenues countries could collect in taxes remains very regressive. That is, that the burden of paying more taxes is placed on people on low incomes or those living in poverty. The IMF is obsessed with expanding the tax base, which in practice is about trying to extract tax from people on lower incomes, and they almost never recommend policies that would target the taxing of the wealthiest individuals and the wealthiest corporations, or taking serious action against harmful tax incentives and illicit financial flows. So, despite the fact that the IMF on paper agrees in Washington with the analysis that tax is critically important, in practice they're really not driving that agenda, and when they do impose it in a problematic way that will increase injustice by placing the burden of taxes on people on lower and middle incomes and not those who are ultra wealthy. Now, one of the challenges for countries in expanding their tax revenues, even if you could ignore the policy advice of the IMF and a country really wanted to develop a progressive tax base and tax the wealthiest individuals and companies, there's a massive challenge, and that is that there's a profound injustice in the way that global rules and policies are set around tax. For the last 60 years, global rules have been set by the OECD, the Club of Rich Nations, and one of the most exciting developments in, I think, international financial architecture has been that since 2022-23, there has been a process to develop a UN Framework Convention on Tax, which includes all countries having a seat at the table, a representative and genuinely inclusive process to set fair global tax rules. That UN Framework Convention on Tax is still being negotiated. The final negotiations are happening this year, and hopefully that will be ratified next year at the UN General Assembly. And that will actually enable countries to be in a better position to tax multinational companies who are extracting their profits into tax havens and getting away without paying taxes. Hopefully, that tax convention will help to rebalance that and enable countries to expand tax revenues in a fairer and progressive way. And that's fundamental for anybody who cares about the financing of education. Because if your country, if your government can expand taxes on the richest people, they can actually start genuinely building a sufficient tax base to finance proper, good quality public education. Now, one of the other main challenges alongside tax is debt. I mentioned already that so many countries are already, 54 countries are in debt crisis, in fact, and if you're in debt crisis, you cannot expand spending on education if so much of your national budget is being spent on debt servicing. So there's an urgent need. Any country that is spending more on debt servicing than on education should be at the front of the queue for debt restructuring, debt cancellation, radical process of renegotiating their debts. That's not happening at the moment. We know there are at least 23 countries that do spend more on debt servicing than education, probably much more than that, in fact. That statistic is from last year. And we know the debt crisis is multiplying very, very quickly, not as a result of profligate action by national governments. In most cases, it's because of a global forces. It's whether it's the war in Iran or other, or in Ukraine, the rising interest rates in the global economy that drive countries into debt crisis. The fact that if you're a lower income country, you have to borrow money at a much higher interest rate and repay it over a much shorter time period means that you're much more likely to enter debt crisis more quickly. Debt has become a massive obstacle for education, and the structural solution to that is very similar to the one on tax. It is to negotiate a UN Framework Convention on tax, on debt, a UN Framework Convention on sovereign debt, which was the central proposition brought by many Global South countries to the UN Financing for Development Conference last year in Seville. Unfortunately, despite that being a really well thought through proposition, European countries blocked it, so it didn't make it into the final consensus document. But there are plans for that case for a UN Framework Convention on debt to be taken to the UN General Assembly hopefully next year, and that would be incredibly transformative, again, because it would enable countries to accelerate their processes of debt restructuring and debt cancellation. And you could talk seriously about cancellation of illegitimate and odious debts. And that is transformative for the financing of education. Now, one final reflection is that we need to, one of the problems with being in debt is that you end up subject to the policy advice of the International Monetary Fund, And we know that the single central policy of the International Monetary Fund in imposing austerity is to put limits and cuts or freezes to the public sector wage bill. They give the impression that this is about cutting bureaucracy, but in practice, if you are told to cut or freeze your public sector wage bill, the biggest impact is felt by the teaching profession, followed by the health profession, because they are the largest groups of people on the public sector wage bill. And despite the rhetoric of the IMF having shifted and saying, oh, we really care about education and social spending, in practice, our latest research coming out next month shows that they are still imposing public sector wage bill constraints or cuts in every single country that we studied. And in fact, in every country, they recommend cutting the public sector wage bill below the regional or global average for the percentage of GDP spent on the wage bill. The impact on education spending is devastating, and until we take action to challenge the IMF and this cult of austerity that still drives the IMF, we are going to have a massive challenge in education financing. So that was the essence of the Transforming Education Summit, which said if we are serious about education financing, we need to take action on debt, on tax, and on challenging austerity, because those are the big forces that drive the financing of education. Whilst other actors are trying to get away without talking about these structural forces, I think it is incumbent on us as civil society movements to put that centre stage in all of our discussions and demand the structural shifts necessary to enable governments to spend more on education. I wish I was with you, as I said before, to explore these issues in further detail, but I hope you have a wonderful discussions in Manila, and I look forward to communicating with you on an ongoing basis on these critical issues. It's a long-term struggle, but I believe that we're in a better position than we have been for many years, and I think we will get there in the end in transforming the financing of education. Thank you very much for listening. Take care. Bye.
Thank you very much, David Archer. We listened to him and he really talked something that touches our heart about education financing, linking with tax, debt, and transformative education system and a structural shift. So, dear participants, we missed some powerful words from our participants from resource person from Sri Lanka, Ms. Jayani Prasangika. So we are planning to request her to share her recording what she was presenting. So if we can collect it, we'll distribute it among the participants. So we don't want to miss that. So now time for a short break. Originally, we had a plan for 10 minutes break, but as we are lagging behind the schedule, can you make it for 5 minutes? So maybe we can take a break for 5 minutes. Helen, you want to say something?
Yes, and there might be some questions to Edwin of GPE, in light of our engagements and active engagement in the replenishment. So I wonder, Edwin, if you can still stay with us after this quick break, or you'd like us to offer our questions now and clarifications?
I think I'd like to take the questions now if possible, because I have to go to work.
Okay, maybe then we can defer our break a little. So we'd like to open the floor for question to Edwin, and there is another very important presentation by Dr. Tran. So we can invite both of them. So if you have any question, please raise your hand and be brief. Ask your question directly without any address. So who would like to start first? Floor is open.
And if I may, while others are also reflecting on their questions, Edwin, rest assured, ASPBAE and its membership, as I have emphasized in my earlier opening intervention, we will be supportive of the GPE replenishments as we have done in past replenishments. since we have been an active member and partner of GPE. Now, we also received the formal notice of GPE when the pledging conference, the Global Education Summit, was postponed, supposed to be on June 9. We were preparing the mobilization we need to take up, but we also see this opportunity of postponement as additional time for us to continue pressuring governments, particularly donors, to pledge more and pledge better to GPE. At the same time, continue our engagements to developing countries to commit to domestic financing to support their education system transformation. My question is there already any indicative time frame where we should be expecting the new date of the replenishment? Of course, in the letter that we received from GPE, it says sometime in autumn, but some of the things, or at least some of the info we're getting, is that sometime in October. So just in case you already have the latest indicative period, do share with us. But if there's nothing yet, it's fine, we can understand. But it also gives us a sense from the civil society side that we have between now until that particular time to continue engaging with donor governments, engaging in developing countries, especially in the Asia Pacific, as you have highlighted in a number of your slides. Thank you, Edwin.
Thank you very much, Helen. That's really important. Yes. We're still waiting for confirmation from the co-hosts in terms of when this would actually be. It's still very indicative, but a very likely place that this may happen, given the state of the world, right? It's likely going to be UNGA, we are thinking that we might use UNGA as a key moment to do that. So, but it's not clear yet. We don't have the sign off yet from the co-host, but we're basically, as an alternative, we're planning to get people to do that, basically use UNGA as a key moment to do that, so that becomes so in terms of indicative timeline, September, mid-September will be that timeline that we're using to plan for now until we advise otherwise. But that is just tentatively right now. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, there we can see the hand of David Kumi. David, over to you.
Thank you. David from Papua New Guinea, PNG Education Advocacy Network. We have been a member of ASPBAE and also our advocacy and working with GPE for a very long time now. Just one now with the education financing and also in the process of mobilizing funds for the government as a developing country. We also, as a civil society working with the government, in terms of monitoring of the funding itself, we find it very challenging for us because of our budget that we have for civil societies. We will do the advocacy with the embassies and also with our government. In 2021, we have written to our Prime Minister regarding the domestic financing, and then this year, 2025 and 2026, we have seen increase in domestic financing from 7% to 16%, which civil society have not been acknowledged, but those are some of the processes and stages that we have been actively participating. But as a civil society, the challenge that we face is our financing itself to monitor the compact process and also the GPE financing and monitoring of the government. Domestic financing itself is also challenging because most of the financing, we are also advocating for more increase in education financing, but then also the schools down there, they are also misusing the funds and abusing. So then when we are advocating for increase in domestic financing, then how do we provide that advocacy to the communities and the schools and the people to have that funds properly accounted? So we are challenged in that space. And with that, I would like to bring that to the floor for us to also consider when like this next stage of EOL process of replenishing and also supporting civil societies, we need to consider the budget that the civil societies in country that they face. So we can also take note of that. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe we take one or two more question or reflection, then come to. So Shamsul Rahman, please.
Yes, thank you, Inam sir, and thank you from Mr. Edwin for the comprehensive presentation. So ANICO is also has the intention to be a part of this replenishment campaign, and thanks to GP for their support to education. And we want to send official letters to the countries' embassies that are in the Asia Pacific, and we kindly request you to send us the direct address that we can share the letters to them, because in Afghanistan, as the condition is really bad and also severely impacted and underfunded, and children in rural and conflict-affected areas face immense barriers. So therefore, the GP support is not only important, but it is too essential. So we want you, ASPBAE support and also your support in this part. Thank you.
Okay, Edwin.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I think from David, your point about support, I think you already mentioned EOL, which is a totally different process that we also do to support civil society. I think within that framework, when the call is made, I think GC is the key partner as a whole, and I think ASPBAE as part of GC as well is doing. They have the means of getting that done. Again, that's a conversation that needs to happen. But I'm not able to get into the detail of DOL. My colleague Tanver would be in a better position to do that. But again, that is noted. It's one of the notes I will take back to Tanver just to see how that conversation is taken within the EOL process. In terms of direct addresses, we may not have the direct addresses of embassies in Afghanistan, but again, we would, I think usually, of course, they will be in the capitals. It's usually better to get on their website. I'm sure when you get into the diplomatic websites of these donor countries that are based there, you're able to get that. It would really be great. I think for all the missions in the list of donor countries that we have, they all have their official website and where the embassies are in each country. So it would be great if you look through that and then get them officially. But it's always best to hand deliver letters, to be honest. When it comes to advocacy, when you have a handwritten letter and then you go in and deliver it, it actually works a lot better than things that come in through the mail. So I would strongly advocate that, especially in the capital, all of the embassies are usually going to be in Kabul. So please go in and hand deliver those letters to them. And I think Helena just posted, particularly for donors that are based that are very focused on the Pacific or the Asia Pacific region, like Australia, like Japan, South Korea, and New Zealand, if possible, please reach out to them. They are keen to support countries, particularly Papua New Guinea, especially Australia is keen on that. So please, let's try to reach out to them as well. I saw your question, Helen, about commitments from Philippines and Vietnam. If they have submitted, it has not reached us yet, because the list that I showed us there is the current list we have. So please, it's also important to reach out to them to say, well, you've received this template. Why have you not submitted? Because if they get that pressure in nationally, then it's a lot easier for them to be reminded. Sometimes they are doing so many things, they do not prioritize that, right? And like we've discussed, political will is a key factor in this. So please, your outreach to them can do that. Can GP share the DF commitment made so far in terms of by the partner countries with the next, so that we can engage more meaningfully at the country level? Okay, so one of the things that we didn't receive initially, just to confirm, is that when we were doing the templates, we did not get the permission of the countries to publish them. So now, as part of this postponement that we have, so we are going back again to the countries now to say, now that we have received this, we would like to publish them, including publishing them with national education coalitions or even the local education groups, so that they also know what the country has committed. So we are already going back to them to ask for that permission to do that. So I thank you for all of that. Please, when it's available, we will be able to share that. Sorry, I'm just reading the questions at the same time so that I can get off. Say yes, it was launched in 2025. That is true. Okay, yes, please. That's exactly the logic. to say, yes, we launched it there, you know, we could also conclude it there in that sense. So in that case, that's what we're trying to do. Yes. Is there an analysis of commitment made during the last replenishment? It's on our website. If you go on our website and see DF commitments, it's actually there. It's all published, and then you can see what the summary of each of those commitments are in terms of which country committed and what the level of commitment they made. I don't know if that makes sense. I think that is the last one. I want you to go for your break. I don't want to keep you too long waiting. I think that is the last one. And I'm
Yeah. So is there any other question? I cannot see any hand. So thank you, Edwin, for your powerful insight, and it gives some kind of hope and also empowered us in terms of getting access to information, knowing about the process, and many people were concerned that because of the global crisis, how things are happening. So we got some very good insight from you. Thank you for joining us. And participants, we have many other resource person like Helen Dabu, Zahra Arshad, Rashida Chaudhary, who has been part of the GP and still part of the GP in many ways. So if you have any question, maybe in their next reflection, they can raise some of those issues. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. So, Chang, you'd like to say something at this point, or no? We can. We have some time after Rashida's speech. We have some more space to reflect on. As you are staying with us, maybe we defer your speech to the later part. Is it okay? Okay. So we are taking a 5 minutes break. After 5 minutes, we'll come back. So it's 3:48. Maybe we can come back at 4 or 5. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome back. So we are listening the GP perspective before the break. So now we are again on board. Now we'll listen from the country experience and the civil society perspective, more focused on civil society perspective. So our first speaker is Zahira Arshad. Zahira Arshad is the National Coordinator of the Pakistan Coalition for Education, PC, a dedicated education activist and civil society leader working to advocate advance equitable, inclusive and quality education in Pakistan through policy advocacy, coalition building and strengthening grassroots participation. She also represented the civil society in GPE board earlier. So she has experience in working at the grassroots level, national level advocacy, and as well as global platform like GP. So floor is yours. Zahira, you have 5 to 7 minutes to share your thoughts.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Anam, and thank you, ASPBAE, for providing this opportunity. I think there's a lot of things to absorb and then produce it. And I'll start with that. I completely agree with all the discussions and held here. And I also think that it's very important to expanding the text-based methods in raising domestic resource mobilization and investment in social sectors such as health and education. But in developing countries, low middle income countries, the issue is not simply collecting the more taxes. The real issue is who is being taxed, how they are being taxed, and whether the taxation and the tax which is collected, it's actually improving the lives of the common people. In Pakistan, the tax to GDP ratio is very low. It's just 9%. But the burden is already multiplying heavily on the same people. So especially the salaried class, low middle income classes or lower classes, poor, they pay taxes in form of income tax, in form of sale tax, and in form of other indirect taxes such as utility bills and daily essentials they buy. So at everything they buy, everything they consume, they are actually giving taxes on this. So for many citizens, taxation already feels like tax on a tax system, and it's a with a very little visible return, and there is a frustration among the people, because the taxes which is collected is not used for the prosperity of the society. And for example, in Pakistan, if we look into it, that we are a debt distressed country, we are having lots of issues with such as climate change, such as other issues, and that's what we are doing is we are collecting taxes to pay debt. We are borrowing money from other donors to pay debt. So not taxing and investing in people is a real issue. I can cite an example. For example, in federal education budget, more than 50% of that budget is going for the debt servicing. So that means that money which is collected by the people is paying off the past liabilities. It's not investing in the future opportunities and where the education came first. Pakistan is lowest among the spenders on education in South Asia. We are actually allocating and spending less than 2% of education fund. And if you look into the development spending, it is much lesser than this 2% as well. So at the same time, our taxation system is deeply regressive. Even the poorest household pay through indirect taxes. For example, if we find out that the people who are, the education is fundamental right, it's free, but if we look into the things that the people pay for their transport, for uniform, books, and other things, and it is almost along with what government is paying, it's almost the same that which people are paying in Pakistan. 12 million girls are out of school, less than a few 0.1, 0.2% disabled people have the accessibility to this education system. We have lots of issues with gender equality, gender equity, and there is a structural one that the climate shocks is there. So every time since 2022, every year we have floods coming in. So it's a visible crisis which is there. And then looking into the tax rebates, debt restructuring that's required, it's very important that the countries which are facing the climate shocks should not have been chosen between paying debts and education or their social sector. That is very important, that how we can the discussions about the global citizens must also mean that there is a need to discuss about the global fiscal responsibility. So that's also important to discuss, that if you're talking about that more taxation, that how this taxation process should be adopted at the country level, which is already debt distressed, economically stressed country. And it's not only Pakistan. We know that there are many countries which are having the same situation and circumstances which we have in Pakistan. So moving forward, I believe in there are three essential things which are required. First, debt restructuring that should support the education system. Debt relief should not only reduce pressure, but it also creates space for the investment in the children. Second, tax reforms must be progressive. Expanding the tax base should focus on wealth, property, capital gain, and the multinational corporation, as the colleague earlier said in his presentation, David, that there is a need that the corporations and the multinational who are actually enjoying the tax holidays and rebates, they should come into that the cycle of the tax, how they are going to pay the taxes, which can be utilized for the social sector at the country level. Third, I think there is a need that budget should be gender responsive. We do talk about the gender segregative budget, but that's not, still it's not implemented in, when it's talk about the girls which are not included in the budgets, how they are funded, and the budgets are not reflecting or having no reflection on the inclusive. And so the expansion of tax base, it should be more on a holistic way, that how we are looking into it. That's why I asked the GP colleague that there is a need to have the analysis of what governments have committed so far, because it's not only in terms of they are talking about some sort of commitment they are made at the time of replenishment. It is equally important that how this commitment should be monitored on a time basis, and its implementation at the local level that's need to be looked after by the people, so that the data should be very much public, that look, this is the commitment and this is how the governments have approached to reach that the commitment. So that's yes, there is totally yes about the tax-based expansion, but domestic resource mobilization and the investment in people is equally important. And if we are very serious about achieving SDG 4 or 5, or if we're talking about the post 2030 agenda, sustainable development agenda, then the tax policy, debt policy, and education financing should talk collectively. It cannot be discussed separately. Otherwise, we are not able to achieve those sustainable development agenda and improving the lives of children and bringing out of school children back to our school education systems. Thank you.
Thank you, Zaira, for your insight. We have two youth participants, representative. One is Hannah and another is Athil. So first I would like to invite Ms. Hannah Benz, youth representative from Pian. So Hannah, you have 5 minutes. Hannah, are you there? Yeah. Yes, start. Unmute. Please unmute and we cannot hear you. There is a microphone sign on the left corner. Please click that. Not yet. On the left corner, there is a microphone sign. Just click on that. One click will open. Yeah. And if you face difficulty, maybe you try to fix the problem. We can invite Ethel, then we'll come back to you. Okay? So may we invite Miss Ethel Ntama. She is youth representative from Youth Challenge Vanuatu. So Ethel, you have 5 minutes. We'll come back to Hannah later.
Hi, thank you very much, ASPBAE, for this opportunity. First of all, I would like to say thank you for giving a space for the Pacific youth to speak on today's dialogue. Hi, everyone. My name is Ethel. I am from Vanuatu, and I'm also very proud to represent the Pacific youth as well as my work with Youth Challenge Vanuatu. So I'm currently employed at a non-government organization called the Youth Challenge Vanuatu. So our job is, our main vision and mission is to assist marginalized youth who has no opportunities or chances to continue or further their formal education. Well, that being said, I just want to bring into this space the voices and the realities and concerns of young people across our region, especially those who are too often unheard in policy discussions. So from what we have heard and reflected on earlier today, I would like to say thank you for the presentations that are very informative. One message which is very clear is that the progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly the SDG 4 on education, is not only slow, but it is at risk of going backwards from my perspective, with only a small fraction of targets on track globally, and regression already happening in parts of the Asia Pacific region. And I would say that from a youth perspective, it's we are running out of time. But for young people, this is not just about statistics. This is about the experiences that we lived on a daily basis. So speaking from the Pacific perspective, we see firsthand how insufficient education financing affects our daily lives. It is not only about formal schooling, but it is also about non-formal education, also second chance learning, vocational training, and community-based programs such as NGOs that normally deliver STEM inside the communities. But these programs are just critical pathways for many young people, especially those who have been pushed away from the formal systems. So speaking of which, when education is underfunded, youths are the first to feel the impact. So we see overcrowded classrooms, limited resources, and under supported teachers, which then can lead to strikes in most of the schools in the Pacific. And we also see fewer opportunities for skills training and youth development. But most importantly, we see entire groups of young people being left behind. Speaking from experience and from my line of work, young women and also persons with disabilities or special needs, youths inside the rural communities, and those who are also affected by climate change, which is one of the most issues that is affecting the Pacific at the moment, and also economic hardship. So for many of us working directly with youths in Vanuatu, in the context of Vanuatu, we know that non-formal education programs are often the last net, if I would say that. But yet these programs are consistently under-resourced, mostly undervalued and overlooked in the national budgets. So this raises a serious concern, how concern to youths who are lacking for formal education. So I would like to say, like, how can we talk about the right to education when access depends on who you are or where you live, and also what you can afford? So this is the main bigger picture of questions that youths are particularly raising at the moment. Also, I would like to touch point on the promise to leave no one behind. So it cannot be achieved if financing continues to exclude those who needed education the most. But we also recognize these challenges do not exist in isolation. So I'm speaking on a youth perspective. Debt burdens, climate impacts, and global economics pressures are shrinking the national budgets and forcing difficult choices. But also too often, education is treated as an expense rather than an investment. So again, speaking from a youth perspective, this has to change, and education is not optional, it is foundational. It is the key for resilience, to employment, to gender equality, and to sustainable development across the Pacific. Speaking from the insights globally, and from the question answered from the chat box, I see that 17% of the SDG targets will be reached by 2030, and there is $97 billion gap in education financing. For Pacific youth, this gap is not just a number, but it is quite lost of opportunities. So I would just, from the presentations and the insights that have been shared, I would just like to give 3 recommendations. Firstly, for governments and the international community must increase and prioritize funding for education across both formal and non-formal sectors, and while ensuring that resources are used transparently and reach all marginalized youth, because these are the bigger portion of the populations in the Pacific. Second, I would also recommend that the development partners must deliver on their commitments to education financing, including support for global funds, and ensure that this support reaches countries and communities that are in need of most. And lastly would be young people must be also meaningfully included in the decision making, because they are not just beneficiaries of the systems, but partners in shaping the that work for our realities. So with that being said, I would just like to conclude by saying that if we are serious about achieving our SDG 4 by 2030, we must act, and we must act in a certain different way, including the perspective of youths, because for the Pacific, education is more than a goal, it is our entire future. So once again, thank you, ASPBAE, for giving us the space to speak on the Pacific youth perspective. And yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ethel. You have been firm about your recommendation, and as we really valued the meaningful participants of youth in its advocacy and decision-making process. So that is why we wanted to youth voice. Unfortunately, we could not hear from Hannah, and we have communicated. She's facing difficulty with her audio. So we'd like to move forward. Now we have our speaker, Ms. Rashida K. Chowdhury. Many of you know her. Rashida Chowdhury is the Executive Director of Campaign for Popular Education campaign, a prominent education activist and policy advocate in Bangladesh, widely recognized for her work on advancing equitable, inclusive, and quality education through civil society mobilization and national education of Bangladesh, non-party caretaker government, and former board member of Global Campaign for Education, and also collective consultation of NGOs in education, 𝐶𝐶NGO at 2030. And she's currently representing the civil society in the GP board. So, Rashida, we have been listening you for quite some time, and you have experience in working both sides of the table as civil society and also responding the civil society response. So would like to hear from you about your insight on this Global Action Week for Education and also linking with the GP replenishment campaign. Up over to you.
Thank you, Anam, and greetings everyone from Bangladesh. It's a sort of rainy but warm and humid, but it's very cordial atmosphere in this particular meeting. And I would really like to offer my thanks to comrades, experts, and friends, particularly to ASPBAE, for organizing such a discussion, not only because of Global Action Week for Education, but also because I think we are going through such an uncertain, volatile, and tense period of our life. This is, after spending so many years in education, we have been thinking and rethinking. While we are talking about equitable, inclusive financing, gender-responsive financing of education, millions of children and their families in conflict-ridden zones like Gaza are deprived of their basic human rights, like food, shelter, and education. So this is where we have to think and rethink what have we been doing and what are we planning to do in the near future. As a campaigner from 𝐾𝐬𝐢, as Enam has introduced 𝐾𝐬𝐢, it is a 35-plus-year-old national education coalition. As a coalition promoting education rights, we follow some non-negotiable principles. One is education is a fundamental human right. It's not a commodity to be sold in the market. And second principle, it's a state responsibility. There could be actors, including the private sector. They can be active partners, but under proper regulatory and accountable frameworks. That's a must when we talk about private sector involvement or engagement in education. They're welcome, but they have to follow regulatory frameworks, law of the land, etc. And the other principle that we believe in is that education spending or budget must be considered as an investment in future and simply not as an allocation. That's important to remind ourselves that it's not a spending, it's an investment in our future. So Renee mentioned about global solidarity. Thank you, Renee, for mentioning it. But real action has to happen at the national level, at the ground level. That's why so much focus on domestic financing. But I would like to emphasize one particular focus here. Domestic financing, but with transparency and accountability, what David 𝐶𝐞𝐫 has mentioned. and Vietnam representative also mentioned that it's not only sustainable financing, but it has to be sustainable and accountable financing. The accountability to the people, it must be there. So we have seen that over the years, as mentioned in many of the, as focused in some of the presentations, lots of divides are existing and it's increasing. We have not been able to narrow down the divides, particularly in SDG 4. We have been talking about for years the digital divide, but there is a quality divide in education. Those who can afford to spend money for their children, they are getting quality education. So another divide is the rural-urban divide. It has been mentioned in one of the presentations. The other divide is rich-poor divide. And the big one now we have been observing, the gender divide. So how education financing in any form reduce those divides? That should be our, thinking process should be focusing on those. We have talked about over, all those presentations, we have talked about so many of these. But I would like to share our own experience during the last, not much, last 20 months only. One is persistent campaigning. As you know, a youth movement, thanks to our young people, it toppled the autocratic regime in August 2024. And then came up the interim government. We have started working on education issues, 𝐾𝐬𝐢 and its stakeholders, its partners, its members, over the last 20 months. But the elected government came in. We knew that there will be an election. An elected government will be there for 5 years. So we started working during the last 18 months and 20 months now, focusing on the education agenda. And we organized consultations. I'm focusing on those. We have to look at ground level realities, but who will be the best suited for bringing those ground level realities to the decision makers? 𝐾𝐬𝐢 could act as an, bridge between the local people, and we organized 372 consultations over a period of 20 months. So, and then 24,000 plus stakeholders participated, from youth groups to girls forums, to parents, to teachers, to students, participated in those consultations. We came out with a compilation of recommendations that we placed. Somebody is making, some comments, whatever. So there, we submitted it to the decision makers, to the newly, before even the newly elected government came to power. And then we discovered that when the newly elected government came in, I'm talking about the results of, positive results of persistent campaigning by civil society groups. It is needed. Because we found out that the government, our newly elected government, declared a 12-point reform agenda for education. And we discovered that out of those 12, 9 out of those 12 tally with our recommendations. They have accepted those, although not formally, but we gave our comments on those recommendations, even the reform agenda. So it is one of our civil society's strengths that we could go for persistent campaigning. May not yield results over the, overnight, but we have to go for that. So this is where yesterday, day before yesterday, 2 days, we have discovered with pleasure that our newly elected PM declared free education for girls up to the undergrad level. and they are going to include it in the upcoming budget in June. So the persistent campaigning has been yielding results. See, the other one that we have been doing, one of the other things that happened, other declaration, the government has, the newly elected government, the party has its own manifesto, 31 points. And out of those 31 points, education featured well. So we actually approach them with hard evidence, credible data. That is so important, what Zehra was also mentioning. We need to gather as civil society hard evidence to conflict, to influence, to convince our decision makers. So now the Education Watch is focusing on teachers. We are coming out with a teacher study. It's a, Education Watch, as you know, it's a scientific data-based study. It's very primary data-based and credible, accepted as a credible study. So we will be publishing it soon. So government will be probably hoping they will be focusing on teachers too. And now we have also youth groups in our, umbrella. So youth are also coming in. So the latest development I would like to share, there is a SDG platform created, and 𝐾𝐬𝐢 was one of the core initiators. I was there, an SDG Citizens Platform for SDGs. So together, 𝐾𝐬𝐢 and other stakeholders, other sectoral representatives, because it's not only SDG 4, but 𝐾𝐬𝐢 provided all the materials and all the insights for SDG 4. We have introduced a reform tracker which is going to tell us the story of how all these commitments government is going to fulfill and where are they, the path and the way forward. This reform tracker is already in place, particularly on 3 areas that the government has declared. One is free education for girls up to the undergrad level and midday meal, and the other 2 are family card and farmers card. They will be tracking the progress and we will be part of that. Finally, I would like to say the GP mission was here. So 𝐾𝐬𝐢 representatives met them thanks to our GP mission. And they also met with our ministers. And later we also talked to our ministers. 2 ministers are there in our 2 ministers and 1 advisor. So we suggested to them that GP mission, so GP headquarters should also think about the New Zealand as a potential donor. New Zealand has never been inside the fold of GP funding mechanism. And last month, the New Zealand High Commissioner based in Delhi called me, and I also requested him to think about it, about being a funder, part of GP's funding mechanism. So these are some of the things that we could do together, but focusing on the ground level. And here are so many of our participants who have been working at the ground level, working with communities, working with people who are really, either becoming victims or beneficiaries of whatever education development the government or the policy planners are pursuing. So thanks again, everybody. And I'll be happy to respond to any questions. My colleagues are also here, they have joined, and they could also respond to some questions. But we are really happy to have some positive results of our persistent advocacy. And thanks to all of you, comrades and friends like you all over the world. Thank you, particularly in our region.
Thank you, Rashida Apad. Thank you for your insightful address. And it enriches us about how national level advocacy influence in the global level fundraising, and along with many other important engagement of 𝐾𝐬𝐢. So we got some information that Hannah could fix her problem. So may we invite Hannah once again. Hannah, as we are running behind the time, you have 3 minutes. So please be brief and share your insights. Hannah?
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good day, everyone. Listening to today's dialogue, I am reminded that education financing is not just about budget. It is about who education is really working for and who it continues to leave behind. From the Asia-Pacific overview shared by Renee, the reality of poverty, inequality, and limited public spending strongly resonate with Papua New Guinean and across across Pacific. In many of our contexts, education is still not equally accessible, especially for those in remote communities, young women, and persons with disability. Looking at the education expenditure structure presented, what stood out to me is how much of the burden education still falls on household, from transportation, accommodation to learning materials. For many young Papua New Guinean, these costs become a barrier, not an opportunity. Education, which should be a right, becomes something you must be able to afford. So this connects directly to another issue that we face, the pyramid structure of education. While many enter the system, few progress to higher tertiary education. As a representative from University of Papua New Guinea Disability Students Union attached under the PhD Education Advocacy Agency, I can see this clearly, where students with disability are often filtered out along with this pyramid, not because of lack of ability, but because of lack of support, financial, and inclusive system. So I strongly support the recommendation. I strongly agree with the recommendation given by Renee that it's time that we call out for champions in our government systems who are passionate about advocating for education, and especially inclusive education. Thank you, and I think the time is limited, so thank you. That's all for me.
Okay, thank you. No, we didn't want to miss your voice. So, and thank you for raising the issue about right to education and also some structural issues. So there are some questions in the chat. Many of them has been addressed. So would like to invite 2-3 people for very last remarks. Particularly, now we have Dr. Tran from Vietnam. So first Tran, 2 minutes, then Renee and Helen. No, Renee. Okay, Helen and Rashida, 1 minute, 1 or 2 minutes each. So Dr. Tran, over to you.
Yes, thanks, Enderman. Yeah, I'm so glad to hear lots of experience, lots of story from different countries. And I also have some point to share about Vietnam. I have read some question in the chat box about the case study of the Vietnam, why Vietnam is not engaged in the GPE campaign. Yeah, I think that as you can see the data I have shared previously in our slide, you can see that the education expenditure in Vietnam is rather high. It's not the total expenditure in the society, not the government, is rather high. So I think with the education expenditure structure, you can see that the higher education level, the higher expenditure. So it's the similar trend as a developed country. So I have also some explain about the future. The future trends in education expenditure in Vietnam. Actually, in 2025, Vietnamese government has made a reform. That means tax reform is strengthened recently. So the tax revenue has been increased sharply. So I think it will be the condition so the government can expand the fiscal space for education expenditure in the future. So with their commitment, you know that Vietnam is also very pay attention into the SDG targets. So they also try to get the target target in the education in education sector here. So, however, I think there are some problem in Vietnam that is because Vietnam has strong fiscal decentralization. So education expenditure is subject to the local authority policies. So some financially autonomous localities and localities receiving fiscal transfer from the central government, they have the different policy in education expenditure. So I think that's the problem in the Vietnam, not the total here. And the next one, the government is do some rent reform to finance for education from 2025. So I think in the next 5 years, the expenditure from the household will be reduced, so we can deal with the gap between the rural between the gender from the low income household and the high income household. They can accept the education equally in the future. However, you know that the very highlight point in Vietnam, that is the private investment for education, is very high. I think Vietnamese people, they eager to pay for education, especially in the urban area. So I think the gap between the urban and the rural area may be widened in the future. I think so. Due to the policy of the government for the education, they can improve the education quality in the rural area. However, I'm not sure the gap, because the people living in the urban area, they have the growth of their income is very is so rapidly, so the gap may be widened in the future. However, through this forum, I also have one question that I'm typing in the chat box, so I'm not saying already, so I can ask here that whether in the other country the expenditure on education in national defense and security sector is included or excluded in total government spending for education. I don't know in the other country. Everyone, you can understand my question. That means the spending of the government for national defense and security sector. That means education in this sector is included or excluded in the total government expenditure on education. Because in Vietnam, why we can see the previous data, we can see 17 or 18% of the government expenditure on education. However, when I asked some official in Ministry of Finance, they said that actually we include the government expenditure on education in national defense and security. However, this spending is not public, so we never calculate exactly government expenditure on education in Vietnam. So that's the master in Vietnam, and I also want to ask the experience from the other country. So, yeah, thanks for your listening, and I hope can get your information from the other country.
Yeah, Thank you. Thank you for your insight. And we are almost end of the session. If Rashidapa or Helen has something to say as last word, otherwise we'll go to the conclusion. Okay, no. So
can I come in?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Just to respond to what our Vietnamese representative she has said. One is there are two parts of the defense expenditure. One is not public. The other one for education. For education, I'm talking about. They have specialized cadet colleges where the per unit expenditure, which goes from the state exchequer, it's much higher than the general stream. So this is one way. The other is when we talk about education budget, we had this experience of having the education budget tagged with some of the defense installation, etc., like the, whatever it is, it was, what was it? Not the solar, but satellite. Satellite. Why should education sector be tagged with satellite expenditure, which serves the military mostly? So these are some of the clever ways of, diverting the total education budget to other sectors of the defense. We have experienced it, but now we are trying to convince the government that education should be a single sector, not tagged with any other. We don't know how could we be successful.
Okay, thank you, Appa. So, with that words, I would like to go to the conclusion of this session. We have Archana, the ASPBAE Executive Council member. So she is the director of Nirantar, a center for gender and education in India. She is a feminist education advocate working on the gender justice, sexuality education, and inclusive learning for marginalized community. So, Archana, floor is over to you. With your remarks and concluding remarks, we'll end this session. Archana, over to you.
Thank you, Animal. And it was a very, very insightful session for me. And I really grateful that I could hear so many thoughts. And definitely, I think what really, what is the reality of the world today is not lost on anybody. Everyone knows what kind of world we are living in, how even the political processes or the world events are impacting countries' ability to fund education. I mean, wars, attacks, and the genocides that is happening around. But I also learned that it is not just about the current political scenario, but it is also about the mega international bodies like IMF and how they are impacting countries' ability to fund education and provide for quality education. At the same time, I think there was a lot of talk about the political will and tax reform, where I think the important takeaway for me was that it is not just about reforming tax about from where all one can collect tax, but also where the tax is spent. A lot of countries, a lot of speakers talked about this, that even the tax transformation is not just about the sources, but also the utilization and how governments are looking at it, and that needs our attention. Because domestic funding is the largest part of education funding, one of the important things that I thought is really the out-of-pocket expenses in education, and how this can also become an indicator for future. I mean, to decide how much money is needed for education should depend on how much out-of-pocket expenses communities are spending, and that should be considered as an important part of education financing.
Having said that, I feel there is also an important way in which we need to look at the community expenses, because where does community spend? When community has limited resources, it will always put in its boys and males, because that is where they see the rate of return much higher. So again, women and girls will be marginalized when even the community spending is concerned. So whenever we think of the funding or the finances for education, we must remember that if we have to reach to the most marginalized, it will need more resources. And I think the rural-urban divide was also one of the things that a lot of speakers talked about. So while urban is very much accessible and there, but to reach to the marginalized, we need to invest more. We need to, walk an extra mile. That means again, financing needs to be rethought, that where we need to invest more. So which means positive, assertion or positive discrimination, as we call that. For equity to happen, we need to spend somewhere more and somewhere less to bring people at par in terms of their access to good quality education. And in that, I think one of the important things, not really talked much, but I thought it was an important point raised by one of the youth youth representative, is education for out of school youth. And when we look at the education financing, are we even considering the finances for people who are not in education? Because a lot of time financing, when we talk of financing needed for the formal system, the education system, school, universities, etc. But what about people who are not in system? Do we have any plan or any financing available for out of school communities? So in the end, I think a lot of the conversation was really that philosophically, we all believe in working towards the marginalized communities, marginalized youth, people who are left out of the development sector. But this philosophy to convert in reality, I think financing is the key point. Financing is the only tool that can convert this idea, this vision into reality. And how financing is very, very important in today's times as we move ahead and we want to make education really the flame which needs to be held high. And all of these pearls, all of these important conversation happened because we had such excellent speakers who brought in so much insight, so much learning. So I truly want to thank all the speakers, and I am sorry for the Jenny ma'am who could not complete her this thing, but sure we will have other opportunities to listen to her. I also want to thank our moderators, Enamal and Lakshmi. Thank you for holding fort and really doing it so well. It was really, really refreshing to listen to the youth representatives about their reflections, and I learned a lot because, country realities make it so real for all of the conversations, and really, like, the idea started making sense to me. One more thank you for the technical support, the staff of ASPBAE who was supporting all of this to actually happen. And the audiences, I was amazed. I was like awestruck by the level of engagement of everyone who was here. I attend so many, consultations like this, but I've not seen people so engaged. Chat box was not silent even for a second. Continuously people were writing. So great audience. Thank you so much for being there and being so engaged. And last but not the least, ASPBAE. I think ASPBAE is one of the network which keeps the flame of education high, and these conversations are so important. So thank you, ASPBAE, for keeping this conversation always on and always be ahead of the game in terms of taking these to the larger communities and keeping these conversations on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Archana ji. So we are with her speech, we conclude our session. Thank you, President of ASPBAE, Secretary General, and representative from different countries, from government, from civil society, from youths. So let us hold the flame high for education. With that words, I would like to conclude this session. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
So
Boss
much,
Bev, to
everyone.
Grand New
Thank you
Zealand.
from Central Asia to the Pacific.
Thank you.
And
Thank
all the
you.
best,
Thank you.
everyone.
Asia, Southeast Asia,
You
all
are
subregions of
forgetting South
ASPBAE.
Asia.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
said South Asia. SR1 South Asia, SR2 East Asia, SR3 Southeast Asia, SR4 South Pacific, SR5
Thank
Central
you.
Asia. That's it, complete.
Thank you.
Thank you,
So-
everyone.
Thank you.
So we completed 𝐾𝐬.
Thank you, everyone.
This is the
Very
last
nice
𝐾𝐬 event.
More
Yeah,
than 3
but
hours.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Thank you. Thank
March,
you. See you
March
Such a
has
very
to
again.
go
enriching
on. We
discussion.
can't
Thank you,
give
everyone,
up.
for all the
Thank you,
sharings.
Serafin.
Yeah.
Very active. Bye-bye.
Yeah, we will
Bye.
respond to all the questions.